This quiet path within this forest may seem unremarkable, just a hollow point cut through the hills of Kusnacht, nothing more than a trade route in ancient times. But here, the fate of the nation turned for good. It's called Hallow, and every single Swiss child knows of this place. They know what happened here. A man waited and lay, a tyrant passed through, and they say an arrow flew. Whether this is history or myth, it genuinely changed the pride of this country forever. Let's go on. Wilhelm Tell, a farmer, a hunter, a marksman. He, according to legend, lived in the early 14th century in the forest canton of Uri. When the Austrian Habsburgs ruled this land, they sent bailiffs and governors known as Vogte, and this was to enforce their rule. But Hermann Gessler was one of these such people, and Gessler viewed that his hat was worth more respect than the emperor himself, and demanded that every passerby with a bow bow to it. Now Wilhelm Tell refused this. Punishment? Trial by archery. He would have to hit an apple off of his son's head with a single arrow. But when he had successfully pulled off the mission and shot the apple clean off his son's head, of course, he was questioned. Why, Wilhelm, did you bring a second arrow? And he responded simply, if it had harmed my son, the next would have been for you. That immediately led to an arrest warrant. Tell was arrested on the spot and ordered him transferred across Lake Luzerne for imprisonment in Kusnacht. But the weather had other plans, and the guards who were transporting him across Lake Luzerne couldn't manage the storm. So, of course, they had to let Wilhelm Tell go and allow him to steer the ship. And he did, right into a rocky sort of amalgamation. And there he leapt to freedom. And to this path where we just recorded the previous frame is where Wilhelm Tell went to enact his revenge on Gessler, because he knew Gessler would follow it. Wilhelm waited, and the tyrant walked through, Hermann Gessler. An arrow flew, and the tyrant died, and a message was delivered. But the killing of Gessler was no ordinary murder. It became the spark for rebellion. According to tradition, after the ambush, Tell retreated into the Alps, into the mountains, if you will, and joined a clandestine rebellion, resistant movement, if you will. In 1307, 3 men representing the cantons of Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden met at the Rutli Meadow, right above Lake Luzerne. They swore a legendary oath, stand as one people, to resist foreign overlords, to fight for freedom. Alliance became the seed of what we now know as the Swiss Confederation, and Tell's arrow was the beginning of that story. Just above the Hallow lies a true fortress, the remains of Gesslerburg. Once a proper stronghold, this fortress dates back to the 9th century AD, but its current name is Gessler Castle. It's folklore more than it is history. We don't know if Gessler ever actually lived here, but for centuries the people of Kusnacht believed that this was his lair. In 1352 the castle was destroyed, likely by locals, and by then the story of Wilhelm Tell was well told. This ruin has become a sign of tyranny overthrown. And here's where it gets complicated. Wilhelm Tell was not mentioned until the 15th century, almost 150 years after these events were stated to have taken place. Scholars have debated for centuries whether or not this tale is true. Some believe that the Tell story was adapted from old Germanic or Norse mythology or folklore. Others think he may have been a real person whose name grew through retelling. But in a way, it really doesn't matter, because what he did united the people of Switzerland. Because his story, whether true, symbolic, or invented, did what all great myths do. They united the people of Switzerland.